first settlers made their homes here some 300 years ago, this is what they saw. Rolling meadows lush with green grass, surrounded by native hardwood forest. It was here that the buffalo roamed. Wild turkeys and deer lived in the forest. It was a beautiful countryside, pleasing to the eye and capable of sustaining each settler's family for generations to come. This land, of course, is Cabarrus County, and in some more remote parts of the county, this serene description still holds true. In some parts of the county, one still can look out over miles of pristine farmland or native meadows. Our landscape quickly is changing, though. Today, Cabarrus County meadows are a prime location for large residential developments, and the remaining farmland throughout Cabarrus County is becoming surrounded by tract houses and shopping centers. While growth certainly is encouraged by our local leaders, countywide leadership also realizes the need to preserve as much open space as possible to help maintain the character of this county and to provide environmental benefits to sustain our citizenry. That option is a conservation easement, a voluntary agreement that allows a landowner to maintain ownership of a property while restricting certain types of development.
I want to make it perfectly clear that growth is a good thing. I'm a businessman, and I certainly understand economics, and growth is a huge part of our economy. And I think it's absolutely imperative that we have growth because it creates, it's a huge engine for our economy in the Charlotte region and in Cabarrus County particularly. So with that in mind, though, I do think it's important to preserve open space and green spaces because we don't want everything to be developed.
Conservation easements sometimes are misunderstood, so here are a few facts to consider. Easements may provide permanent or temporary land protection. Easements can protect your property forever if you wish. Whether you want to maintain a family homestead, to save a farm, to protect wildlife and natural resources such as streams, or to simply preserve the area's rural setting, conservation easements can be tailored to meet your needs and desires. And if you choose, these agreements may be legally binding on future generations.
I'm second generation owner of this land, and I have a 22-year-old son who 100% intends to be the third generation, and probably his son too. We want to preserve the character of the land in the best manner that we possibly can. In order to do that, we are willing to give up some of the development rights because it's our plan and intention to never develop the property anyway. So it's a joint benefit of preserving the character and the nature, the original nature of the creek and the floodplain areas, while preventing, if you will, the change that development someday could bring.
Well, we had started as a county looking into ways to preserve farm and farmland, and I'd learned about conservation easements through the Land Trust. And Jason Walser with the Land Trust became a good friend and explained the process to me. It's easy as an elected official to talk about those things and suggest that other people give up their development rights. Our family got together and talked about it and decided we need to put our money where our mouth was. If we wanted other people to do it, we need to do it ourselves.
Easements remain in private ownership. When you protect your land with a conservation easement, you maintain your rights to property ownership. You also may continue to use your land the way you always have, as long as it meets the agreed-upon terms of the easement. Even if you sell your property, the easement remains dictating the use of the land for future owners.
There are really three basic things to remember about conservation easements. Number one, they are voluntary. The government's not going to tell you to do it or not to do it. And it's private. You don't have to ask the government or make an announcement, and nobody has to know. So it's a voluntary, private decision, and it's a legal decision involving your real estate. And the third thing is permanent. It can never be changed. I personally take great satisfaction, and my family does, in the fact that you can look right there, and that will never change. There'll never be a building, never be a structure, those trees, and that vista across that pasture is beautiful, and it will not change. So there's a great deal of satisfaction, and it's the only thing I've done in my lifetime that's permanent that'll outlive me.
Easements are tailored to the circumstances. Easements are designed individually to respect the uniqueness of each piece of property and to capture the needs and desires of each landowner. Landowners can even use easements as a way to specify future uses for their lands.
And actually, the conservation easement process is not for everybody. It's something you have to really think about long and hard. You have to really sit down and decide what you want to do with the property, long term, forever, because conservation easements are forever. And what we did as a family is try to decide, what do we want to do with this piece of property? Well, we wanted to build a house for ourselves. We wanted to have a barn. My wife wants to have horses. I wanted to maybe have a place where my kids could build a house. We decided that we could write all of that into the conservation easement and do exactly what we wanted to do, but protect this land from future development. So that's why we did it.
It is voluntary, totally voluntary. And once you do it, as we discussed earlier, you still have all the rights to, you know, it's still private property. You can still tell people they can't come on your land if you want to. It's still farmed as always. You can harvest the timber under a management plan and that sort of thing. So it really doesn't preclude any rights other than just the right to develop. And a lot of people don't really understand that yet, and it is an education process.
Easements work for multi-acre properties owned by separate landowners.
With the blessing of my 4 grown children and a wife, that we would preserve this farm. And I thought that it would be a good idea to inform the neighbors and try to see if they might have the same interest. So to fast forward, we now have 6 landowners that are contiguous, and they're a total of right at 600 acres of private land that's owned by 6 different families. And then joining that is a county park of 180 acres, and then Rhema Church, which is another 40 acres or so. So the total is about 800 acres of land that's contiguous that will basically never be developed. I think there are a total of about 20 home sites on the entire 800 acres. Well, that's no big deal, but in an urban area 15 miles from Charlotte, it becomes really significant because the land mass takes on an integrity as a open space and a green space and a space for certain species of birds that need this kind of vast acreage land.
Easements can be beneficial in subdivisions with small lots that front creeks, in addition to larger properties. Conservation easements are important tools to mitigate stream erosion along creeks that can eventually lead to flooding issues for landowners. Just one rain event can put the equivalent of 1 dump truck load full of sediment in a stream. If the land is not protected, this sediment can build up to create a more and more shallow creek, which may create flooding. Some large landowners and homeowners associations have worked with the North Carolina Department of Transportation to find solutions for stream erosion. Easements can yield tax benefits and other financial benefits. Preserving your property with a conservation easement may qualify as a charitable donation and be deductible for federal, estate, and gift tax purposes. Easements also may be eligible for state tax credits, lower property taxes, and other financial benefits.
But the federal government and North Carolina have very strong tax incentives because all of us know, including developers, that part of the land needs to be preserved. So these tax incentives really do become enticing in certain circumstances, and it requires planning, and everyone's needs are different. Frequently, a landowner will sell his land to a developer not knowing that he could have kept it and taken a tax deduction and given it to his kids with less taxes because of the easement. There are just so many things to think about. So I'll encourage landowners to inform themselves of how this works. If they have any attachment to the land, they should take a look at conservation easements.
Although conservation easements can be purchased, most of these agreements in North Carolina and across the country are donated. When an easement is donated, only certain rights are given up by the landowner. For the most part, the landowner can decide exactly what he wants the easement to include. While an easement prohibits certain types of development and prevents environmental degradation, the landowner still retains all other rights of land ownership. This includes the right to sell the property, mortgage it, bequeath it to family members, hunt, farm, cut timber, and often even to retain or build a few home sites. In addition, a conservation easement provides no rights for the public to access the property unless the landowner specifically asks for public access. Conservation easements also are an important tool for maintaining farmlands throughout Cabarrus County. Agriculture is a vital part of our local economy. If all our farmlands are developed, the county will lose this critical resource. What's more, many farmers lease the land they use for livestock and food production. So it is important for non-farming landowners to set aside land through easements to ensure the county's agriculture industry is supported in the years to come.
It really broadens the industrial base of the region in that agriculture is a wealth-creating industry. Infinitely renewable, not too many industries can say that. And it just broadens the economic base of the entire region. And in addition to that, it requires open space, obviously, the land, and so it adds to the environmental aspects of the region. It's really in very many different ways. It is advantageous for a region and a community, an area to maintain its agriculture.
The economics in Cabarrus County, as far as farming income, is much greater than people realize. And it's not just the income on the farm itself, it's your related industries that rely on that.
I have decided over the years that it does appear that we cannot do nothing if we want agriculture to continue in this region because of development encroachment from other areas and the rapid growth that we're undergoing. To do nothing would just gradually mean that the farming community would dwindle away. So if we are committed to preserving farming in this area, then we have to be activists. We have to take on, figure out what can we do. And it appears to me that where you place conservation easements on land is really the best way.
Very important to maintain the open spaces, farmland preservation, conservation easements, to maintain the open spaces in the county, to preserve the rural character. It's a part of the basis of what Cabarrus County was founded on. And it's a very important character of this county. It's important for the school children, for the adults, to be able to ride through parts of the county and see the agriculture taking place, where food is produced. We don't need to depend on foreign soil to raise all of our food. We need to import some of it, but we don't need to be solely dependent on foreign sources for our food. The risk is too great for contamination of our food supply. The best economic advantage to the county is they're not providing any services for farmland. You may have one or two homes for several hundred acres. Well, you don't need the schools, you don't need the highways, you don't need all the police protection, the fire protection. So the county benefits from the tax dollars that come off of the property tax on that farmland, and then the income tax that it produces. So it's very important for the economy of the county, for the income, and the other benefits that the county realizes for the open space, and to maintain that rural character and open space in the community.
Open spaces are important to me because I think it's healthy for body and mind to be able to see a diversity. We can all travel very quickly to see plenty of asphalt and tall buildings, but for me as a mother, it's important to be able to know that there are children, not even my children, other children, that can come and see nature at its own. And there's something healing about being able to see trees and grass and animals, in nature where they belong. And I feel like we just need that balance in our life where we're going to always have the cities, we need the cities, but there's a definite need for the open spaces too, for the health of our children and for their future.
Most conservation easements are granted by landowners who simply love their land. They view the easement's restrictions against future development as leaving a legacy of functioning ecosystems, important wildlife habitat, historic character, production agriculture, and refreshing open spaces for future generations to enjoy. The conservation easement also provides landowners unique opportunities in family planning, from avoiding or lowering the estate tax burden to preventing future fragmentation and quarrels over dividing the land. Also, some landowners just feel a civic duty to provide something special, such as a scenic view along a major highway, a habitat for an endangered species, or preservation of a historically important site for their neighbors to enjoy. To learn more about the benefits of conservation easements in Cabarrus County, contact the Cabarrus Soil and Water Conservation District at 704-920-3300 or log on to www.cabarruscounty.us/easements.